I feel like I need to block everything out and stay focused on my goals. Take over the globe.
In a different mind state. I'm playing for keys like in the streets, I want it my way. Hey, fuck that state, we eating beef, we know that crime pay. They say we dogs and every dog gon' have his dying day. Rockin' that demon SRT, that big and sideways.
Here's my beautiful G80 M3 competition, and in today's video we're gonna talk about how you can make your G80 M3 be faster than a Hellcat. The Hellcat has been the benchmark for what you call fast car for a very long time, ever since 2015. No matter how many haters of Hellcats there are out there, you can't deny it is a very fast car. And in today's video we're gonna show you how a 500 horsepower car with just a few minor modifications can beat a Hellcat. But before we do that, let's do a walk around because this thing is just way too beautiful. Look at all that carbon fiber. You have the carbon fiber grille, the carbon fiber lip, you got carbon fiber right there, you have the intakes, and look at it, it is so nice. And even though this is my car, I fall in love with it every single time. You got the blue brakes, you got more carbon here, a whole carbon fiber roof, you have carbon fiber right here, and then you also have a carbon fiber diffuser along with some aftermarket exhaust, which we will talk about in just a second. I also have the double side skirts, which make it a lot nicer and make it look more lowered than it is. It is lowered and it does have spacers, so that's why the stance is just perfect in my opinion. But let's jump inside, take this car for a ride, and talk about how you can make your G80 M3 faster than a Hellcat. I'm in here and now let's give her a startup. Safety first. So let's talk about the two custom modes this car has. You have M1 right here and then M2 right here. If you go to setup, it will show you what the M1 configuration is, which is, this is what I have it set up as, then the M2. So I have M1 as being with traction on, and then I have M2 being with traction off. So you could customize it however you want, and here's everything you could do from chassis to transmission to engine and all that good stuff. I like to have it in M1. Also, if you go to M mode right here, you could put it in sport and watch what happens. The cluster will change and it will be more sporty. You also have the heads-up display over here. This is all stuff that I feel like I've talked about on this channel, but you know, for those who are new and are looking at G80s, it's good to just touch on. I also want to show you guys all the carbon fiber here, and then the blue interior, beautiful, more carbon fiber here. But now let's go for a drive. Lots of backfire. I must say, every time I drive this thing, it's an experience. Whew. Yeah, this car is brutal. Yeah, this car is insane, and that's because of the exhaust and a few other things which we will touch on. You know, I know you guys all clicked on here to see how you can make a G80 faster than a Hellcat. I wanted to give you guys a quick drive and maybe a quick pull. We'll do a small pull here for you guys. Yeah, this car is way too loud, but of course you can control that. You have an exhaust button right here which you can click. It will turn the burbles off. The exhaust will still be loud, but you will not have burbles. It will not backfire. See, no matter what I do, it won't backfire. See, no backfire. But as soon as I click on this, it will start backfire. So you have multiple ways you can make your G80 faster than a Hellcat. I'm gonna tell you guys my way, which is the cheaper way, and then I will tell you the more expensive way, but you will also get more power. So the second way is more of like an overkill if you want to maybe race a modified Hellcat, okay? The first way is gonna be you get, well, again, you don't necessarily need an exhaust, but I would highly recommend an exhaust because it just sounds better. And you know, the right exhaust is very important because there's a lot of exhaust out on the market that make your G80 sound very raspy and sound like a lawnmower. So I decided to go with X-Force. It's not the most popular exhaust out there. They don't have too much promo around this exhaust, so I kind of took a chance on them and I absolutely loved it. It's the best exhaust I've heard on a G80, and you don't have to spend $8,000. I believe it was like 35 to like 4,000. You could also control it from your phone. You could open the valves, close them. You could do 50% open, 60% open. I mean, you could do all type of things, you know. So that is very, very cool that you could, you know, have different options. So exhaust important to me. Also, the second important thing is catless downpipes. That is probably the most important modification, is the catless downpipes. The cats on this car restrict a lot, and if you do want to make power, whether it's little or a lot, you need to get catless downpipes. I went with VRSF, I believe. I'm sorry if I said their name wrong. They make really good mid pipes, and you know, if you don't want to go with them, I believe they're like $700, $800. There is cheaper. I don't know if it's a conflict if you were to go with cheaper ones. I just have heard any catless downpipes does the job, okay? Now, I would highly recommend staying from anything that's titanium. You know, I know everyone brags about titanium sounding so good and being so amazing, but also titanium is very weak, and I would stay away from titanium. That's my personal opinion, but you guys can do whatever you want. I would always tell you guys to just go with stainless. So find a good stainless steel mid-pipe or exhaust. And then you could also do intakes. So I first had the under the hood intakes, which sound very good, make the engine bay look amazing because you could get like blue or red, and then you know, the pipes could be a certain color. Mine were blue, so you know, the sex appeal of the engine bay was great. But you got all that heat trapped under the hood, so you know, it's not good for your intakes. You know, it sounds good, but it's trapping heat and it's sucking all heat. Now, if you get rid of them, which is what I did, and get the front mount intakes, which are mounted right inside your grill, they're getting all that air coming straight at you, most likely cool air. Even on a hot day, it's still gonna be cool air because you're probably traveling so fast that, you know, the air is just cooler. So I would recommend front mount intakes. They do say it adds about, I think, 20 to 30 wheel horsepower, if I'm not mistaken, from Burger Motorsports is who makes my intakes, so be sure to check them out. And then the final modification you will need is a JB4. It's basically like a piggyback tune where it tricks the car into making more boost. And you could also go on a different fuel. The highest fuel you could do is E30. So you put 70% 93 and then 30% E85. And then you'll have an E30 mix, and then yeah, depending on, you know, how good of E85 you have. I also have a custom map from JB4, so I don't know if they do that to every customer. Maybe you have to request it. I don't know how that works, but they have already like 5 different maps. They also have eco mode. They could do a map just on 93, and then you also have a map on E30. 2 maps on E30. One is more aggressive than the other. My custom map gives me approximately 650 wheel horsepower, and that is more than enough, believe it or not, to beat a Hellcat. This car only weighs 4,000 pounds at most. You know, if you get the carbon roof, depends what spec you get, obviously. Now, if you were to go get a manual one, rear wheel drive one, it will be like 3,700 pounds. but then I don't know how the manual is gonna do. I wouldn't recommend a manual if you want to win races. If you want to have fun, definitely get a manual. But the 8-speed automatic in this car is just great. So I would recommend staying with it. It's a similar 8-speed to the Hellcat. So you're gonna have that, you know, being shared with the Hellcat. You're gonna have similar transmission. The gearing is also super similar. So it's good because when you're going to race a car, you guys want to agree on a certain rule or whatever you're doing dig racing. Now, if you're doing dig racing, you're going to destroy a Hellcat because you do have an X-Drive in this car. So you have rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. You have that option. So the Hellcat doesn't have that option. The Hellcat is stuck in rear-wheel drive. This car now in rear-wheel drive is super dangerous. Like, if you don't know how to handle a rear-wheel drive car, and not just any rear-wheel drive car, I feel like this car just, when it's in rear-wheel drive, it's like 150% rear-wheel drive. Like, it's insanity. Like, you could lose control of this car, and I've seen them lose control all over the internet. You know, most of the ones that are losing control are rear-wheel drive. So I would not put this car in rear-wheel drive if you want to race it, unless you have slicks or some really good tires. I would just stay in all-wheel drive. If you want to dig race a Hellcat, you should smoke it, no problem. And then if you do want to roll race it, I would highly recommend you doing it on E30, and then you should be good to go. I don't see how you won't beat a Hellcat. I've beat Hellcats, Hellcat Red Eyes, pretty much every Hellcat, you know. Now the only thing you won't be able to beat is like a Demon. You know, I made a mistake one day of racing a Demon 170, which has 1,025 horsepower. It was the biggest mistake I ever did. He completely destroyed me, but that's only because I'm making only 650. Now, mind you, this is only in like the slowest map I have on 93. So it's not that fast right now. On E30, it picks up a lot more power, and it just sounds insane. Like, just hear this thing. Whew. This thing is so rowdy. Let's do like maybe like a 50 roll. It is the slowest it can possibly be, but it also can just like, it just takes turns so well. It handles so amazingly. But like I said, if you want to beat a Hellcat or maybe a Hellcat Red Eye, these options that I just gave you will do just fine. Now, if you want to be faster than that, if you want to maybe race a modified Hellcat or maybe a Demon, I don't know how with this next setup I'm gonna give you how it will do with a Demon, but you will have a way better chance beating a Demon on the second option I'm gonna give you than the first option. The first option I gave you, you will spend around, so my exhaust, you don't have to count the exhaust because you don't have to get the exhaust to make it fast, but the exhaust is about $4,000, but you don't have to get the exhaust. So we're gonna just not put the exhaust on this list. The downpipes will cost you around like $500, $600, $700, $800, maybe even up to $1,000, depends on, you know, what brand you go with. The front mount intakes, I believe they're a little under $1,000, maybe like $800, $900. I'm not 100% sure. I'll put screenshots of everything up here so you guys can get the exact numbers. And then as far as the JB4, I believe the JB4 will cost you around $1,100, $1,200. Again, don't quote me. It might be more than that. It might be like, no, it's not less than $1,100. It's around $1,100, $1,200. It's not that much, believe it or not. And then, you know, they have two options. I believe you could do wireless, which you can control all from your phone and change the maps and the data log and all sort of stuff. Or you could go with like a manual, like wired in, which I wouldn't recommend. I would just do it wirelessly. It's so much better. So yeah, you'll be around, you know, $3,000, like literally right under $3,000 for getting 650 wheel horsepower, and you could beat Hellcats and Hellcat Red Eye. Now let's talk about option 2, which will cost more money, but you will make a lot more power, like a lot more than what I'm making. So you will still need the catless downpipes. Those will cost you around $500 to $1,000, or some even more, depending on what company you go with. You will still need the front mount intakes, which I recommend just because it sounds good and they look good. It's probably not the most practical for daily driving. Maybe it might snow, it might rain. They will get dirty very quickly because they're right there and there's dirt being sucked in there. I don't know what's happening. You know, it's probably getting dirty, you know, as I'm driving it right now. So, you know, it's not the most practical, but again, having a race car is not practical at all. So it is what it is. So you could do that. And again, front mount intake is under $1,000. It might be like $900, somewhere around there. But now, this third thing you will need to do is going to cost you time and money, and that is unlocking the DME. And in order to unlock the DME, you will have to take your DME out and ship it to Finland. Yes, there is only one company that I've heard of called Femto out of Finland that unlocks the DME on these cars. And because it's only them doing it, they can charge whatever the fuck they want to charge. For an M8, they charge around $3,700. For a G80 or a G82, they charge around, I believe, $2,000, some around there. You know, I think $2,000. And then you got to pay for shipping, which is like a few $100s. I think maybe like $400-500, somewhere around there. So unlocking it will cost you thousands of dollars, okay? Because in order to make that big power and in order to go on full E85, you will need to unlock your DME. You cannot go on full E on an unlocked DME. The most you could do is my setup, and that is E30. So you have to unlock it, and then you also need to get an actual custom tune, which tuners charge, I believe, like $1,500 to $2,000. Again, it depends who you go to. There's a bunch of good tuners out there. I heard F80 Paul is a great tuner for these platforms. And there's a bunch of guys out there. You'll just have to do your research, go on the forums, and just see people's experiences with them. Some are gonna have good, some are gonna have bad. No tuner is perfect. A lot of people blow their cars up and blame it on tuners. A lot of tuners are not good and they just blow every customer's cars. So it just matters on, you know, this research you do. So definitely research, ask people, and go on the forums. Even though on the forums people could sometimes be biased. But yeah, so you're right there just for unlocking DME and the tune. You're probably at like $4,500 if you just have, you know, a G80. Now the M8s are just insanely expensive. I'm not sure why. So if you add all that up, and then you have the catless downpipes and the intakes, you should be at about $7,500, maybe $8,000. That's obvious. Everything I just mentioned is without installation, so no labor is involved in this. Labor is really depending on who do you go to and how much they're charging. So, you know, definitely take that into account. You know, my prices don't include labor. So I would say, yeah. So the second way, you will make around 750 to 800 wheel push in it. But also the torque won't be that much. The torque will have to be limited to, I think, to like 600 to 650. And that's because the transmission on this car is very weak. It can't handle too much, unfortunately. So they have to take the torque out in order to preserve the life of the transmission. So you will be stuck at around 750 wheel to 800 wheel, which you could still get a 9-second pass in a quarter mile. So that is amazing. And then if you want to go more than that, you could do upgraded turbos, whether it's single or twin turbos. But you can't even do all that unless you get an upgraded transmission from Pure. Pure makes some really awesome transmissions. I almost went with them, but I kind of like the power level my car is at right now. So maybe one day I'll visit that, maybe, you know, figure out if I want to go faster. But as of right now, I like the power level it's at. It's plenty of fast for me, but I know I can't beat every car. So if you want to make 1,000 wheel, you're gonna have to get a transmission. A transmission will cost you about $4,500 and up, depending on which package. They have 3 different packages. They have a package that handles 1500 wheel. There's a package that handles 2000 wheel. So there's all type of packages that you could choose from. And just like that, we have made it to the end of today's video. Hopefully you found all the information I gave you useful, and I can't wait until I see a bunch of you guys going and throwing those modifications that I mentioned in today's video on your G80 or G82 and beating all the Hellcats that are out there. If that is the case, definitely send me videos. I'd love to see it. And just like that, we are done for today. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.